Sir? All right. Good afternoon. This is Abel Camarena, the chair of the Valencia Stormwater Conservation District Board of Supervisors, and I'm calling the April 18th, 2024 regular board meeting to order. I verify that we do have a quorum. I can report that Supervisor Baca will not be joining us. He did call in. He did contact me that he was not feeling well. He and his wife have come down sick. Well, I don't know about Supervisor Fisher. If he joins us, we will welcome him. But at this time, he's not here. But we do have a quorum. And with that, Pam, would you lead us, Supervisor Cordova, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So let's review the agenda and identify any changes, and then proceed to approval. So,
Mr. Chair?
yes, Supervisor Cordova, you have the floor.
Yes, I would just like to compliment the new look of the agenda. Very nice.
Oh, thank you. All right. Okay, any other comments with respect to the agenda as you have it before you? Okay, hearing none, then I would call for a motion to approve the agenda. Supervisor Bonine, you have the floor.
This is Supervisor Bonine. I move that we approve the agenda.
Thank you. If there's no further comments, I'll call for a second.
Cordova, second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as submitted for the April 18th, 2024 regular board meeting. I will now call for a vote. All those in favor demonstrate by the uplifted hand. Thank you. That's apparent to me. We have a unanimous motion. So we will proceed with the agenda. Thank you for that. All right. The next item of business is approval of the minutes from the recent last week's special board meeting, April 9th, 2024. Hopefully you all had an opportunity to review and comment. And if there are no edits at this time, I would call for a motion to approve these minutes.
Mr. Chair?
Supervisor Cordova, you have the floor.
Okay, Cordova, so moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Supervisor Abeta here. I second the motion to move.
Thank you, Supervisor Abeta. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes for the special board meeting of April 9th, 2024. All those in favor so indicate by the uplifted hand. Okay, so motion carries unanimously. I don't see any reason to ask if anybody, if there are any nays at this point. So motion carries. The next item of business is public comment. I have not received any public comment. And Johnny, did you receive any or?
Received any public comment in our inbox.
Okay. With that, then, want to acknowledge Katie Mechenbier from NMDA, who's just joined us. Hi, Katie. Thanks for being here. And also Duana Dreskevitz, who is a former board supervisor. Welcome, Duana. Did you have any comments? Okay. All right. With that, then, we'll go ahead and proceed to item number 4 on the agenda. District staff monthly briefings. Mr. Acting Director Chavez, if you will lead that, and look forward to hearing the highlights of the reports, which, by the way, I thought were very informative and very well put together, very well written. Appreciate all the pictures. Thank you. Floor is yours.
Chair Board, this is Johnny Chavez, Acting District Director. I'll go through mine first, and then we'll go in order, which I think next will be our business manager and then our education manager. I'll go really fast. So we have YCC hired on with the help with Teresa, our vice chair. We were able to get 7. So they're outside right now working. They've been doing a fantastic job. Hopefully pretty soon we'll be able to start doing some in-house education. We'll get our vice chair to do some life skills with them, and then have some of our partners do some biology, botany, and some other interesting educational stuff. We're working still with forestry at Stacy unit, getting that hopefully going. They should be finishing pretty fast with it. It's going to be a pretty fast project. We did finish our turkey sanctuary planting on the 30th. We had several Friends members, volunteers and board members from the Friends. And we also had the local chapter, the Turkey Federation chapter there as well with the president. So that was really fun. They enjoyed it. They wanted to do some more work with us. We did get benches from our Boy Scout, Daniel, correct? Darian Garcia. He did a fantastic job. He had artists do it, and they want to say anomalous, so we don't know who did it, but they did an awesome job. Each bench is a different theme. And that's my overview. And I'll give it to our business manager.
Jenny, this is Business Manager McCready. The only real big highlight I have to put from my report is, 1, it's been a busy month. I've done a lot of writing this month. And number 2, our Q3 report is drafted. It's waiting for signature today. However, the LGBMS system was a pain to use this time. And I want to make sure that people outside can hear it too. I had to enter in line items 4 or 5 times. So if anybody else, and Katie, for you too, that if you have people that come and ask you, there is a glitch in their system. So it is coming up where you have to re-enter in those line items. Just because you save it and you haven't quite submitted it to your analyst, I would tell them to please double check that all of their line items are there, because mine continued to disappear. I have to go back in on the system. It's in our papers now, but on the system, I still have to go back in for now the 6th time and enter our salaries and wages line item, because it disappears. So just so everybody knows. And with that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Business Manager McCready. Supervisor Smith-Fisher, if you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a quick question so that everybody knew. What was that acronym? LMG, whatever.
It is LGBMS.
Local government budget.
Yes.
Local government body.
Budget.
Local government budget management system. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
I yield. Thank you for helping me through 101.
Hey, I had to work on that myself.
This time.
That's an excellent point. Make it simple. Okay. Was that it? Okay.
This is Education Manager McCann. I will be brief. We have continued with our classroom programs with a focus on 4th grade during our spring months. However, we have also had 1st graders out here and an after-school club. It's really wonderful to see everything waking up out there and to teach the phenology of the different plants. And we've seen all kinds of migratory birds. So it's been really spectacular. We've had a lot of good feedback from teachers and students alike. We also have some exciting news for Master Naturalist program. This is one of the moments where you get really excited about it, because the project is bearing fruit. So I noticed a Western bluebird on the trail, on the Candy Cordova Trail. And so Frank Mazza, one of our Master Naturalists, he had put out bluebird boxes along the trail with permission of NRCS. And we do have 2 of those boxes being used by Western bluebirds. And there's some photos there of their eggs are blue. And a lot of those have already hatched. They don't take that long to hatch, but it's really exciting to see that that is going. And then we had our first Friends member only tour as an appreciation for our Friends group. Members are invited to come on a tour with me once a season. And this was our spring trip. We went 5:30 to 7:30, so time you're not normally out there. And we had a great time and watched the sunset. We have a flyer in there for other dates. And then Ag Appreciation. Now, Agriculture Appreciation had approximately 70 people there. The weather was very overcast. I did put out on social media, I'm like, no, it's not going to rain. Come out, come out, come out. And but we still did have 70 people there. And we had our very own McCready had a table. And lots of wonderful guests, including Bruce Dean from NMDA, did a soil health program for us. Our Earth Day Fiesta is around the corner. It's just Saturday coming up. And of course, our lavender workshop is May 18th. And I am starting to plan summer conservation camp for youth ages 9 to 14. I do want to have a planning meeting in May, but I want to get together with supervisors Cordova and Abeta so we can pick a date. So it'll be an education committee meeting, but then also invite our partners who help with the camp. And that's it for now.
This is Abel Cameron, the chair. Are there any questions, board supervisors, for the staff on any of the things they shared? Supervisor Smith-Day Sharif, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is Smith-Day Sharif. I was asked to give a plug because it pertains to all the programs, but especially the environmental education program and the Friends. So our local Valencia County News Bulletin opinion page and op-ed page 4 and 5 essentially is all about the Valencia Soil and Water Conservation District. Heading off, if I may, Mr. Chairman, we have a wonderful article written by the volunteer coordinator for the Friends of Whitfield, Frank Mazza. We have our district column, Soil and Water Conservation. I put it together by interviewing a number of our staff members and my granddaughter. And her picture for Earth Day, my 6-year-old granddaughter is here, and that helped me connect what I experienced with the solar eclipse and Earth Day. And last but not least, we have a beautiful article here on the benches. The local artist paint the benches to be auctioned this weekend. My article was pretty much saying what we're going to be doing for Earth Day, but just tying into what our staff and board members think about it. It wasn't all inclusive, but it was as many people as I could muster up to help. Anyway, I think that this is a magnificent piece of information, and it's also available online. So please spread it if you're on social media, because people, they can benefit from knowing what we do. Mm-hmm. And it also benefits our staff morale and board members and partners because we're getting some recognition. This is hard work, a lot of hours, but boy, when you see something like that, you say, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I yield.
All right, thank you for that. This is the chair. If there are no other further comments or at this point, let's go ahead and move on then to item number 5 on the agenda, updates, partner reports, correspondence, and other. And with that, I'll yield the floor to our Katie Mechenbier for the NMDA monthly report. Katie? You're fine.
Hello, everybody. This is Katie Mechenbier with NMDA. First off, it's on. Yeah. I want to go over the point system worksheet with you guys. There's been 2 changes to it to accommodate the additional funding the district's going to get if you receive the full 100 points. So we're looking at about $70,000 for this point system worksheet that's due July 15th. So the 2 changes are the items 1 through 5 originally had like an ear tag of like $2,500. We've increased that to $10,000. Those are the state mandated items. So your quarterly reports to DFA, your budget, pretty much everything Megan does. So way to go, Megan, because you guys are going to get that. The other change is that the LOE has been added to the point system worksheet. You have the option of receiving 20 points, so that would be 2 LOE applications. However, I want to make this very clear. You are not required to apply for the LOE. That is not a requirement to the new point system worksheet. It's just an added place of an item where you can receive that extra funding. So not extra funding, the extra 20 points, but you guys usually make it up other parts of the point system worksheet, so it's not required. So you're not gonna be at 80 points if you don't apply for LOE, is what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Question, it
Yeah,
would give
yeah.
us a bonus points in case we're lagging somewhere else?
It would, yeah, it can make up that where you're lacking, except the 1 through 5. To receive that full 10,000 points, you have to make all those deadlines for 1 through 5, which, like I said, are the state mandated things. The only one that's not state mandated is that you have 10 board meetings a year, which you guys always meet the 12 anyway, so I'm not worried about that at all.
This is the chair, so I'm clear. This is an additional 20 points?
Additional.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Bonin, you have your hand. You have the floor, sir.
This is Supervisor Bonin. What's LOE?
It's the legacy funding.
Okay.
Yes, line of check. So let me go over that. The LOE has 3 names: LOE, legacy funding, and land of enchantment funding. It's the funding NMACD lobbied for districts. So at different meetings, I can't guarantee what everybody's going to call it. So that's the 3 things it goes by. I know it gets confusing, and I'm probably bouncing around between those 3 as well. I apologize. I'll try to keep it to LOE because that's how we have it labeled with NMDA. So, okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Katie?
If I can just hit a few other
Highlights, yes,
Okay,
please.
thanks. Just a reminder that your 3rd quarterly budget report is due April 30th. And in June, if you can finalize the annual work plan for the coming fiscal year and submit it to the commission. Johnny, if you need help with any of this, you know my number. Call me. I'm happy to help you. I will come in one day if you need assistance. Okay. Yeah. In June, anytime in June, but it is a requirement and that is a point system item. So for the next year. So just so you know, and then June 1st, your budget and budget resolution is due to DFA. And then July 15th is the point system worksheet was when that is due. And then mill levy rate resolutions and appointed supervisor nominations are due to the commission before June. So if you can submit those, that'd be great. There's information on the land of enchantment, or as it's also known as LOE, in the report. The links are in there. It has a grants. You guys have done Healthy Soil in the past. It's the same grant platform, just so you know. It's the same way. You already have an account, I'm sure, where you just type it in and then that's how you would fill out your application. It's not like water quality where you fill it out and then submit the PDF to NMDA. And then Healthy Soil is due by April 26th, next week. If you guys have any noxious weeds that you've GIS'd, if you can send them to NMDA, we have Max is trying to put together a statewide noxious weed map so we can start tracking where all these noxious weeds are at, and then we can. Our goal is to eventually hire a noxious weed person down the road this year, and then maybe that person can step in and kind of help out with districts and setting up programs. And then there is an LGBMS training, which Megan talked about, that platform. That is going to be April 25th from 9:30 to 11:30. They're going to go through a step-by-step process on how you enter stuff. So if you can attend that, Megan, I'm not sure if your schedule permits. Definitely say that at this meeting, in a public forum like that, please. And then there was some confusion about who received what kind of funding. In the report, we kind of have a step-by-step guide for capital outlay, how to check what you received, because there was some misinformation that districts received out, throughout whatever channel. And so we just want to make it clear, if ever in doubt, this is how you go through it. And chief procurement officers, just a reminder, every 2 years of recertification. So, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's on the radar. There's just a couple other things. I know I'm taking up a lot of time.
That's all right. You're fine.
Okay, thank you. Some other districts get mad that I take too long. So
No, you're fine.
if I'm going too fast, tell me to slow down. I will. There are the ISC meetings going on throughout all the state. Middle Rio Grande one isn't until August. But if you can't make the August one, which we don't have that date out yet, you might want to hit another one. This is just kind of like a big thing going on right now that we're trying to get all the districts involved in. ISC stands for Interstate Stream Commission, if anybody needed that. So all the open houses. There's going to be one April 22nd at Edgewood's meeting office in Moriarty. So at their actual office. And then there's the New Mexico Watershed and Dam Owners Coalition. They're meeting May 1st through the 3rd. All that information's in the report. And then there's the NMSU Youth Ranch Management Camp. So this is a really good camp for any youth who want to go into ranching or that kind of employment later down the road. It's for ages 15 to 19. This is going to be held June 9th through the 14th. The only change to this camp this year is that the registration fee has gone up $100. It's $400 now. So just if you guys haven't done like some kind of like award program or something, you could always use this, but you guys have your Dan Goodman award, so you guys are probably fine in that, but I just was throwing that out to districts. Yes, Teresa.
Mr. Chairman, thank
Yes.
you. This is Vice Chair Smith-Day-Shreve. Katie,
Mhm.
so what happens if a youth from Laguna wants to apply? Can that person apply, or does it have to come through our district?
That person can apply on
Okay.
their own, and then if you guys want to reimburse, that's fine too.
Yeah, there's maybe, and when's the application due?
Usually in May is when we don't put the date down. It wasn't up when I put this report together. The sooner they can get it in, the better, because it fills up.
So, I mean, maybe that's something to have your folks think about, Supervisor Bonine, and also Supervisor Abeta,
Mhm.
because, you know, we have been sponsored Envirothon and things like that. So maybe there's some way to, if the application itself is a burden, that could be sponsored by us.
It's a great workshop. I mean, there's kids who come straight from off ranches and said that they've learned a ton themselves. So, I mean, I think that speaks a lot to it. The rest of this, I will let you guys look over. There's going to be a water control hearing May 13th. It's also available by Zoom if you guys want to attend it that way, or WebEx, I should say. But you guys can attend that and look it over. If you have any questions, there's the 50-year water plan also. All that information for that is in the report. The link to everything that's been submitted to date is in the report. But please let me know if you have any questions on anything I talked about or did not talk about. And if you have any questions, if anybody needs to contact me personally, everybody has my phone number. Call me, email me, whatever you need. I just want to help you guys. Okay.
Any other comments or questions for Katie? I just want to say thank you, because I know you're very accessible and you're very responsive to emails and phone calls. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Smith-Day-Shreve, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Smith-Day-Shreve. I wanted to also dovetail with a specific thanks, because we're looking at the New Mexico Healthy Soils grants, and I had a ton of questions, and I sent them to Katie as my first point. I think it was either on Saturday night or Sunday, and I had a response the same day, for which I am eternally grateful. And you sent it to the right person, and I've gotten my questions pretty much all answered. So
I'm glad.
thank you, Katie.
I'm sorry I couldn't answer them directly. I am not a help that I don't run the program. Sorry.
No, the point is I got the information because of you. Thank
You're
you so much.
very welcome. I just want to reiterate, I know districts don't work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I'm available on the weekends. Megan, I know you go to school. Call me. I'm here to help. That's my job. So yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting or okay. It just occurs to me that you are eternally grateful as well.
Guys, thank you for the play on words. Oh, I love it.
I'm eternally grateful. Okay. Very good. Thank you for that. Let's continue on then with the NRCS monthly report. Nick Goodman, I see you've joined us virtually. So, sir, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. This is Nick Goodman from the NRCS. I didn't have my camera on when you made that eternally grateful comment, or you would have saw a big old eye roll, but it was funny. But starting with my staff updates, we're getting a lot more staff finally. We've had all this Inflation Reduction Act and EQIP money coming in through the Farm Bill, so we definitely need a lot of staff. As far as in Albuquerque, we have Dale Velasco. She started on April 9th. In Cuba, we finally made that a selection for a technician. You probably heard me for the last year or so trying to hire somebody. So we finally made a selection for that one. And he's a local guy. So we're hopeful that he actually shows up on the first day, unlike some of our other ones. We hired a natural resource specialist for the Los Lunas office. Her name is Rihanna Kim, and she'll be starting on Monday. So she'll be part-time. It's funded through NMACD. So we're excited to have her on board to help with a lot of the field part and just day-to-day staffing in the Los Lunas office. The other bit of staff update I have is a little sadder, or in a way, I guess. So I'm going on another detail. So I'm in this leadership development program with NRCS, and I have to do a detail for it. And I'm going to Central Washington. It'll be my supervisor's position. So it'll be the area conservationist. So instead of looking over 3 offices like I am now, I'll look over a third of the state. So I'll be reporting in May for that. And instead of last time we had April Luna as acting DC for me, and then Roxanne Moore was acting, we're going to bring somebody else in. Her name is Dusty. So I'll send you the board her contact information. So she'll be the one who will be giving updates for the SWCD while I'm on this detail. The detail's not to exceed 120 days, but they've already posted the job. So I'm hoping that they'll make a selection a little bit sooner. And so I'll get to return back to my DC position again. But I'll keep you updated on that as well. Some other things we have on here is the batching period. So we're really busy with all this money that we're getting. There's still time to apply for EQIP. That's our Environmental Quality Incentive Program. Our Inflation Reduction Act applications are still open. So the deadline for that is April 26th. So if you know of anybody interested, you can encourage them to apply. And then next, I want to move on to talk about cooperative agreements and the 1619 regulations. So some of you board members may remember this last summer, we had a QAR, a quality assurance review, and we have to do it every like 10 years or so for the team. And part of that was a civil rights compliance. And there was 2 members of our civil rights board came in, and they contacted members, at least 2 members of all of my SWCDs. So I think some of you were contacted and talked to them, but some of the results on there was I need to go over our active agreements and the 1619 of the Farm Bill. So our active agreements, I can send you our whole list. There's a bunch all around the state, but if you look at my report there, these are kind of our more local ones, the ones that kind of apply to us a little more. So if you have any questions on specific ones, you can let me know. I'll just highlight one that I think is pretty cool is the People's Garden. So that's here in Albuquerque. It's just actually down the road from me. If you get off on Gibson and you're heading towards like the Air Force Base, you'll pass that golf course. So it's just on the east side of the golf course there. But it's a pretty cool project we're working on to really help showcase urban farming. But it's called Project Feed the Hood is what they call it here in Albuquerque. But it's pretty cool because they're growing locally grown produce and they're giving it to local people. But if you have any questions about some of these other ones, you can let me know. And then I also want to mention the section 1619 of the Farm Bill. So this is basically just saying that I can't disclose information to like SWCD boards or county committee boards. I can talk about our programs, our numbers, how much money we're getting out, but I can't talk about specific contracts or like if you, let's say like you have a neighbor that you think has an EQIP contract, I wouldn't be able to tell you without their permission about any of their details on it. So that's just something for you to be aware of. And then the news releases here, this first one here was that's closed now, but that's the outreach and education one. And if I believe you all applied for that. Is that right, Chairperson Teresa Smith-Day-Sharif?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's Vice Chair Smith-Day-Sharif. Yes,
Vice
Nick,
Chair, sorry.
yes, I can't take over from Abel. I might get in trouble.
I keep trying to persuade her, but if you don't do it.
In any case, yes, we submitted on time, and it's not an easy process to get the system to work. I had the same problems that Megan had. I would try and save something, and it said it was saved, The next time I went in, it was gone. So my experience with NRCS is ask early and apply early. Number one, and number two, do your application submission in one fell swoop. Because when I tried to do it piecemeal, it wasn't saving. I don't know if that's a glitch or it's just bad luck for me, but we made it, and hopefully we'll get it. With that, I yield.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. Yeah, I will. I'm going to check in with our state office person on it this next week. I'll be at a meeting with her and I'll ask her about that. And I can also talk to her about, because it's grants.gov that you have to submit it through. So it's not like what normal like farmers and ranchers use to apply for EQIP or CSP, the Conservation Stewardship Program. It's like the grants side of it. So it's a little more complicated, but I'm glad that you got that submitted, and I'll try to give you an update on that. Some other news releases I have here. There's this water supply outlook report for New Mexico. The snowpack's looking pretty good. It looks like we're going to have a good year for that. There was an urban grants, an urban or a grant for urban agriculture and innovation. So the deadline's passed for that one, but it looks like that's going to be a multi-year thing too. So once that comes out again, I'll remind you next year. The other one on here is the farmers.gov. So we've had that for a while now in New Mexico, but they've now had it we have it now in all 50 states. So what that means is if you're signed up through farmers.gov, instead of coming into our office to sign documents, you can do everything digitally. It's kind of nice for people that are real technically savvy, really busy, or people that are just way far out from our offices, so they don't have to drive in. They do have to sign up once again through farmers.gov, but then they'd be able to sign everything digitally. And one thing I don't have on here is I think I sent an email out about it. I think I sent it to Johnny and Andrew, but it was about urban ag micro grants. So Farm to Table put a thing out for some urban ag micro grants. They're up to $20,000. The end of this month is the deadline, and they're going to review them in the middle of May. But if you have anybody who's interested in that, you can send them my way, and I can forward the information on to them. And with that, I'll yield back for any questions.
Thank you, Nick. This is the chair. Supervisor Bonine, you have a question or comment for Nick? Then we'll go to Supervisor Smith-Sharif.
The state technical committee meeting is the 30th. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. I didn't put that on here. Good call. So what that state technical committee meeting is, it's basically for our programs. To get paid for them, it has to meet our standards and specifications. So let's say if you're doing a fence, right? You're installing a fence, we have specific standards and specifications that you have to meet. So if you have an issue with any of our standards and specs for any of our practices, you can come and talk at that meeting, bring it up, and we can discuss it and see if we can make any changes to it.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisor Smith-Sharif.
Very much, Mr. Chairman. This is Supervisor Smith-Sharif, and I don't want to forget to tell you that we're going to miss you in May, but we'll look forward to meeting the person who's coming in. So you mentioned these 1619 prohibitions, but I'm wondering for something like the showcase of urban farming that was already funded, if that's redacted, are we able to see an application that someone put through? Because oftentimes they're so instructive, and it gives you brainstorming and all of that kind of stuff. So that's part A. And then part B, could you send the urban ag micro grants thing again, if that's possible? Thank you. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll send the urban ag micro grants. Is it okay if I just send it to Johnny and he sends it out to everyone?
Okay.
Okay, and then your first part, so I can't disclose the applications for the urban agriculture, but there are some people that we're working with that are willing to let people know about what they're doing. And so one thing that we can work on doing is you were saying, like doing some outreach and things like that. We could actually do field days, and I just have to make sure I get the permission from the producers. But once they have things installed, we could actually do a showcase and go and see what they're doing on their urban farm. And we could do like a whole tour if we have multiple ones, if you're interested in that.
Any other questions or comments for Nick? Hearing none, thank you for that report out, Nick. Appreciate that. You're welcome to hang in if you'd like, or if you've got other things that you need to tend to, that's understandable as well. So it's your call.
Thank you.
All righty then. Let's proceed then with the next report out would be from our friends. President Ron Raucci. Is Ron on or Rob? Oh, this says Ron. Oh boy. He's not on? Okay. So I think we will take a rain check there for Mr. Rob Raucci. Correspondence announcements. Was there anything, Mr. Acting Director, by way of correspondence? I've not received anything other than. Okay, Supervisor Smith DeSharif.
Chairman, I did. It was a phone call, but just an update on MRGCD and the bridge from our attorney today, and that he's having conversations, but we should probably put this on the agenda for next month to have him come and brief us.
Okay.
Okay, and I yield.
All right. Well, that concludes topic number 5. Going on to topic number 6. We're doing great on time. Let's see if we can hold that trend. Okay, so briefing from Janice Lucero, Technical Assistant Specialist with Intertribal Agriculture. Is she connected virtually? Not yet. Okay, Supervisor Beta, can you advise us on whether Ms. Lucero will in fact join us and make this presentation, or is there?
Yeah, she said she's making her way down there.
Oh, okay, so she's en route.
Yep.
Okay, so what we'll do then is we'll wait for her to arrive and we'll circle back, okay?
Okay.
All right, very good. Thank you for that update. Then this item number 7, and please help me remember we're circling back to item number 6. I'm apt to forget. Item number 7, EVUGP funding update. Supervisor Smith DeSharif.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is Smith DeSharif. We probably could have dropped this from the agenda, but basically we approved the salary range for the new person, and did we reach out, Johnny? My second question is, I think that we had talked about, Mr. Chairman, that we would be rotating YCC up there, which would help absorb costs, and that's part of the reason we got a larger crew. So are we going to hire anyone else? That's what I'm not sure about.
You mean like garden staff? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I just was okay. So, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think then the announcement you're working on is for the garden manager, right? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted the board to be clear on that and help make it clear too.
That's fine. Business Manager McCready, you have a question or a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Business Manager McCready. Yes, I do have a question. Are we able to start purchasing the seeds and the starter packs for the seeds for the gardens? I think that was a item that hasn't gone full circle just yet, so I wasn't sure if we're able to do that or not.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Smith DeSharif, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is Vice Smith DeSharif. I believe that that's through the purchase order that can be put forward to the county, because we have $10,000 in funding and seeding is on there, I'm fairly certain. So I can meet with both of you offline and we can get that figured out. Mr. Chairman, in sum, I do not believe that this requires board approval because the county values its cooperation with us in the East Valencia Urban Gardens and has provided $10,000 in our expenses related to that. So with that, I yield.
All right, that sounds fine. Thank you for that. This is the chair. Item number 8 then is the Personnel Committee report on Acting Conservation Program Manager search update and the update on VISTA opportunity. Vice Chair Smith DeSharif.
much, Mr. Chairman. So two things that I wanted to brief the board on. We've been asked to try to identify an acting conservation program manager, and we have had some contacts with folks that we've met through outreaching for other work that the district is doing. And today I had a very nice walk around most of Whitfield with a young man who is a soil know everything about soil kind of guy, including microbiology. He was actually trained by the Ciudad Soil and Water Conservation District through NRC, the Outreach for Technical Assistance grant, on how to go out and do soil analysis in the field, get samples, and come up with a conservation plan for farmers. He went through that program and others. So in other words, we're beginning to actually get people down here to see what we do. And I think, Mr. Chairman, that we would be able to report back at the next board meeting. So progress is being made on that front, and we can perhaps come up with an announcement as well that for acting and put it on our sites. Secondly, I with the permission of the board chair, as we were going through the transition that we've gone through, I went back to VISTA and I asked if we were in a different place a couple months down the road and felt that we might have abilities, would we be able to potentially have a VISTA volunteer come on later down the road? And would we be able to modify the description of responsibilities, less from being a research person to more being a person that's really needed? And the answer that I got was yes. So we sent out a revised description of what we would hope if the board were to approve a VISTA volunteer. And if the board would agree, I think Johnny will take the floor after me and speak to, given this transition period, having someone who's ready to hit the ground running, paid for by an outside source, might be useful, especially somebody who could plug into a variety of areas, including helping with grant writing, including with helping with conservation activities, all kinds of stuff. So it's on the agenda. I'd like you to mention if you think at this point having one person that is still a possibility from the feds, then I yield over to you with the chairs.
Yes, that's fine. Go ahead.
I think your mic is muted, Johnny.
Battery died.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
The board, this is Johnny Chavez. I was saying yes at this time. I think with the situation we're in, I think it would be nice to have an extra set of hands and another set of eyes for some of the work that that the district is doing right now.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any questions regarding the information that's been shared under this item on the agenda? Supervisor Smith-Sharif, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. There are some folks out there who remain interested, and I talked to another conservation group in another state who said they have a small board and they have what we do, 3 or 4 full-time staff members, and they got approved for 5 VISTA volunteers. Wow. Now, they did turn one of their buildings where they used to meet into lodging,
yes,
but they said they could never, do all the conservation work that they do in a large area in New Hampshire if it weren't for those VISTA volunteers. So with that, what I'm trying to advocate for is giving the staff, and particularly our acting district director, the tools that they need to succeed in the coming months to get us through the end of this fiscal year and, the year ahead. And so I hope somebody might see it within his or her heart to make a motion that we approve having one VISTA person, if the federales indeed will give us that. They always have the last word. With that, I yield.
All right. So you're calling for a motion? So are you willing to make that?
I'd like to move, if someone will second it, that we ask the feds to approve one VISTA volunteer to help with our personnel needs, all that's needed to get through this transition and the year ahead.
Is there a second to the motion on the floor? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we proceed to indicate to the VISTA program manager leadership that we are interested in having a VISTA volunteer here to assist us in our work. And I will now call for a vote. All those in favor so indicate by the uplifted hand. Motion carries unanimously. Supervisor Smith-Sharif.
But I would like to thank you for that opportunity to go out and get more information from the feds. And I would like to thank Supervisor Bonine for seconding the motion and for everybody voting unanimously. I think this will really provide a good tool for our staff and help ensure their success. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield.
And I also want to acknowledge Teresa's steadfastness in pursuing this opportunity. We had a phone conference call in which we answered questions and provided information and to the individuals that were responsible for this program locally. And so my kudos to you for your persistence and professionalism in helping them to understand what this opportunity means to us. And hopefully they'll see their way clear to support us in our request. Okay, so our guest speaker has not arrived yet. I don't think so. Okay. Let's continue on then with the agenda. Committee assignments for staff, chair, vice chair. Okay, you want to take that one? No, I was just going to preface by just saying that we've been on this this bit of a journey here of late to try to establish and make sure that we're clear on our committee assignments. And so it's been kind of a work in progress, although I think we assigned some supervisors last time, and I think we're just trying to make sure we're all clear on that, correct? Or maybe some additions? Okay, thank you for that. We also talked about what staff could be on these committees to provide an opportunity for more leadership in these committees, recognizing that the committees do not make decisions. We do not allocate funds. We simply do the staff work necessary based on board direction in these respective committees to follow through and then return and report. But we see that there's an opportunity for the staff to be a little more engaged than perhaps they have been in the past. I think technically our charters call for resource advisors. And of course, the staff have filled that measure of duty. We just think there may be an opportunity for some more hands-on leadership by the staff, if I had that correct. Yes, so I'm going to ask Supervisor Smith-Sharif to elaborate further. And then if there are any comments or questions about any of this, we'll entertain that following her remarks.
Much, Mr. Chairman. This is Vice Chair Smith-Sharif. So at our board meeting, a couple board meetings ago, we did approve 2 new committees, and we have charters, and we've got people signed up. And what came to my mind as I have been trying to think how we get through a transition successfully is to give voice to the subject matter experts that we have. In other words, the acting district director doesn't have to be on every committee or lead every committee. And so I would like to have or advocate that a staff member who's the logical fit for committees be that person. And of course, the acting or future district director, can attend every meeting, but we shouldn't labor the district director with the responsibility of every working committee of the board. And I don't think, Mr. Chairman, this requires a board motion. I don't know if you think so, because we already have these committees, but it's just moving the appropriate staff person on to, the working person of that committee. Like, for example, Whitfield with all the outreach and education, probably the education manager, this kind of thing. So I was hoping that next meeting we could come up, the staff could think about this and come up with. So that was one thing. The other thing was, I would hope at next meeting we could have on the agenda the consideration of doing something at a committee level that could facilitate really good working relations with the Friends of Whitfield. And maybe that's having a subcommittee of the Whitfield committee. Maybe it's having an outreach committee that, one of the big things would be liaison with our Friends group. So I'm putting this stuff out there, I think, not calling for a motion today, but for calling for food for thought and any discussion that you have now. The last thing on this committee level that I'd like to call our attention to is I've been trying to help with emails. So our incoming emails to our former district director's email, I've been forwarding it to the appropriate person so we can get the work done. And it would be a big burden to expect our acting to step into that role. So what I've been looking at in doing that is what committees our former director has been on outside the organization. And I hope that we could think about, between this meeting and next, how we fulfill those obligations. Like, does a board member wish to step up to represent us? Does a particular staff member? I have found the Mr. Cog, the Mid-Rio Grande Council of Governments, the Water Committee, there was a membership on that. They're the Middle Rio Grande Endangered Species Collaborative, although you, Abel, are the official number one, and then I step in your stead. Then the URSA, which is the Isleta Reach Stewardship Association, and then this sort of working fire group. And so what I'm telling you is we've got 4 identified so far. So I think it would be important at next meeting to report out. I could send information out and the staff could see what they want, and we could maybe act on something at next meeting. That's what I have to report, and with that I yield.
Okay, thank you for that report out. That really clarifies things for me as well. I see Richard, Supervisor Bonine, you would like to make a comment, so you have the floor, sir.
This is sure that all of the committees that and other entities that we were engaged with, that we know about all of them. I mean, is that the entire list? How would we, and I hope that we can come up with a way of, we need to communicate with those people. I also think in some cases, maybe we need to say no. I mean, we may not, given where we're at and where I think we ought to be going in some cases, we may not have the horsepower to make that happen. And I think we need to have the ability to just be honest and say sorry. I yield back.
Thank you, Supervisor Smith-Day-Sharif.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and this is Vice Chair Smith-Day-Sharif, and thank you very much, Supervisor Bonine. This is exactly what I was trying to get at. The second or the third part of my committee report out was in my answering emails, I've been finding these things. Now, some of them I knew about, but I've been finding others. So I'm not sure that I can tell you more than these four, but I suspect there are a few others. So I agree with you. Some of these may be the low-lying fruit that we've grabbed in the past that we may not have capacity for. And that's why I think it would behoove us as an organization if staff and the board, the Directors Advisory Committee could report back to the board everything that we found that we belong to externally and recommendations on pursuing or not. The decision would have to be made by the board, and or an invitation for a board member or staff to step up, or a discussion on this and a vote. So we can face things in a way that guarantees our success. And I hope I answered that question.
One other recommendation. This is Supervisor Bonine. One other recommendation would be, it might be helpful to reach out to Steve Glass and it's more just maybe go to lunch with him or something and see what, I think we can get a feel for things that, I think he and Andrew did a lot of talking back and forth, and I think that he might be a good contact to figure out, where, if we had other obligations, or is, I think we volunteer. I think we've talked about some things in the past that maybe haven't gotten. The Real Perco Committee is one that sticks in my head as something that we at one time expressed an interest in, and I don't know whatever happened to that. But I think he'd be a good contact to figure out. It's important that we find, in our process of discovery, all of those entities. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Supervisor Bonine. This is the chair. I just want to add to the conversation at this point and not belabor it too much. I was asked by our acting soon after we made our decision and started this transition. The question that he asked, that Johnny asked me, was, do I need to continue to do everything that was being done before? And I said, I won't speak on behalf of the board. If you're asking me personally, I would say to the board that we need to revisit a lot of these commitments, which is what Supervisor Smith-Day-Sharif has done as the vice chair, in order to establish perhaps a new rebalancing, if you will, given what we have by way of capacity, where we find ourselves in this transition. And if in fact we need to step back, that we do so knowingly and to a level of engagement that we feel we can honor. And if we can't, then we should say so. I think it's professional courtesy. One of the things that I remember talking with our former director was to have a more aggressive outreach than what we experienced before. And perhaps that went a bit far. It felt like it at times. And I even found myself pushing back when we were asked to entertain a secretary membership as an executive position for one of these groups. And I said, no, and it's not to besmirch or challenge any of the previous energy that was being exhibited there. I just think it's important to really aggressively do what we need to do and be sure that we can deliver. You've heard me say before, let's not overpromise and underdeliver, because that just never looks very good. No, and so I think we have an opportunity to kind of reset, to use that word. I know that gets thrown around a lot, but I think it's true in our case. So I think this is a wonderful thing you're offering for the board to be more tuned in, if you will, in May. I appreciate you doing that, Vice Chair Smith-Day-Sharif. Any other comments before we move on? Because our guest has arrived, and before we give Janice the floor, I'd like to circle back to Rob Raucci, our Friends of Whitfield president. Rob, if you would like to take a minute or two to kind of brief us on what's going on with the Friends, this is your opportunity, sir.
Well, thank you, Chairman. Yes, in the course of our own reset, you see, I'm using the word. We have a special bylaws meeting that's coming up on May 4th. The board has been actively looking over and revising some of the bylaws that we've had that I think bring us up to best practices. And of course, we always want to be in best practices. So that special bylaw meeting is going to happen on May 4th. I also want to let you folks know that our regular board meeting, which is usually the second Saturday of the month, will be on the first Saturday, May 4th. It'll precede the special bylaw meeting, and that's because I will be out of town on May 10th or May 11th, which is our regular board meeting, just to let you know. So briefly, we've been going through a rebuilding of our own board and reorganizing. And one of the things that we've done is that we've purchased client relationship management software called DonorSnap. And that has helped us immensely with keeping track of our members, our donors, and our volunteers. It's a very intuitive software that will send out reminders based on parameters that we put into it to remind folks to renew their membership or let them know when their membership has lapsed. So we're very pleased with this software, and it's working very well, as a matter of fact. With regard to the Earth Day Fiesta this coming Saturday, the friends are all set to assist Laura. It's one of the most successful Earth Day Fiestas in New Mexico. We have volunteers ready to go, and people will be staffing our booth. We have the schedules all set up, thanks to Frank Mazza, our volunteer coordinator. So we're really looking forward to this event on Saturday. And lastly, I am pleased to announce that the Friends of Whitfield have been awarded, if Johnny hasn't told you already, the Friends of Whitfield have been awarded an AED grant from the New Mexico Heart Institute Foundation. An AED, if you don't know, is a defibrillator. I want to thank Teresa for that, because she's the one that turned me on to it last year. And with due diligence and follow-up, not something you hear about too much lately, and a strongly worded letter, we have got this grant, and the device itself will be ready in 2 to 3 weeks. The foundation also provides training. I'd like to offer the board to be part of that training if they want. The folks at the foundation prefer to train the trainers, but we can bring as many people as we want to this training. And if you want to participate, I'm going to be there. I don't know how many of our own board members will be there, but I will know more about the training once we get the device in. But in the meantime, if you have an interest to be trained on this defibrillator, please email me at robraucci@friendsofwhitfield.org by May 4th. And then I'm happy to coordinate people's schedules for this training. I don't know when the training is, and I won't know until I get the device, but I'd like to know in advance who's interested in learning how to use this device. So anyway, that's all the news from Lake Wobegon, my hometown. Any questions?
Thank
you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is Vice Chair Smith Day Sharif. I want to thank you, Rob, for having the friendly Heart Foundation would fund this. I know that getting defibrillators out into the community is one of the passions of Dr. Barry Romo, who we all might remember from his teaching sessions on our local TV channels. But I attend their training, their continuing medical education training, and I'm very supportive of the work they do. I'm really glad that this came full circle, and I just want to thank you for pursuing that recommendation. I'll look forward to trying to participate in the training. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for that, Vice Chair. And I just want to remind people, when you use the defibrillator, that you are protected under the Good Samaritan law. So don't worry about, being afraid to use it. So I want to stress that. If that's all from me, from anybody else, I'll say goodbye.
This is the chair. Before you leave, Rob, I would just like to reinforce the conversation we had at the board meeting for the Friends on Saturday. Myself, Supervisor Cordova, attended, as well as our acting director, Johnny Chavez, and the matter of more.
I can email that to you. Yes. Can I get a Wi-Fi password so I can email it to you? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, it's trying to connect. And it's the Whitfield wildlife, right? Okay. Maybe I didn't put it. Try again. Okay. And it's okay. Okay, perfect. All right, and I will. Email this file. Is it just one end? Oops, my fingers are too fast. And actually, it's going to go as a PDF, so I think it'll be okay. And I did pass, well, Pam passed around some pamphlets just to give you some more information on the organization that I'm currently with, that I work for. Did you get it? Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. And sitting here is fine. I can see her. Okay. Alrighty.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. There it is. Thank you, Johnny. All right, well, let's get started, everyone. I'm Janice Lucero. I'm from the Pueblo of Isleta. I'm a 10th generation gardener. I grow a variety of intertribal agriculture. I am the new technical assistant from Mexico, which 2012, and I'm sorry, I should know that one. But with this work, it's really cool to, again, be a part of this. And so it's just really lifting up the voices of Native producers and tribal governments to advance in common policy agenda. And so with this, actually, we have 200 plus members, including more than 200 tribal nations that are a part of this coalition. So each year we're growing our numbers so that we can really advocate for the Farm Bill and really, you know, let them know what we need. Can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So here is the regions that we work in. Like I mentioned earlier, I cover the Southwest region, which is Colorado and New Mexico. And so we have about 14 regions all together with 20 technical assistants on the ground. And so what we do, as you can see there, is we do a lot of outreach and resource identification for individual tribal producers, tribal food sovereignty initiative support, tribal representation on state and national level, agriculture related initiatives, and on the ground coordination with all of IAC programs to support producer engagement. And again, there's another component there for Native youth in food and agricultural mentoring and leadership development. So we would love to bring their youth in. We want to make sure that they are also well aware of the resources that we have because they're the next generation. Next slide, please. Again, to one of the components, this one is new for me, to be honest. I knew nothing about the meat and poultry processing that this initiative that we are currently offering to our native producers. And so what this is it's USDA's agricultural marketing service, which has invested up to $25 million to establish a nationwide MPPTA, which that is the Meat and Poultry Processing Technical Assistant Program. And it really focuses on 4 key areas, which is federal grant application management, business development and financial planning, meat and poultry processing, technical and operation support, and supply chain development. As of 2022, we actually have a couple of following organizations. We have one here locally in New Mexico, which is Flower Hill Institute. I don't know if you're familiar with that organization. They're from Jemez Pueblo. They do a lot of great work. They're amazing with just what they're doing, again, bringing in agriculture as their forefront, and they're also educating traditional and language culture really is what they're doing. So they're a really great organization. If you have not heard of them, you can find them online. Another, again, just some other organizations that are actually participating is Oregon State University, the Intertribal Council, Agriculture Council, American Association of Meat Processors, American Meat Science Association, and the Agricultural Utilization Research Institute. So we're hoping to expand this program, and it's very interesting when it comes to meat processing and how that process is done. So again, this funding is really helping the producers who are in that specific realm to find facilities and also even find infrastructure to do their own meat processing. Next slide, please. Thank you. One of the other components that I find really awesome is the American Indian Foods Program. And this was designed to work with American Indian and Alaskan Native owned businesses. It's a trademark. So any native producer who might have, cattle, fish, salsa, any type of value added product, they can apply for this specific trademark and put it onto their product, and it's certified in that way. And there is a process to this. There is an application that you go through. There is a little bit of criteria that you have to meet, but I think this is really awesome when it comes to how we're putting out this trademark for our native producers, and it shows that authentication. Next slide, please. Again, just going off of the systems map, the natural resource and region agriculture is another component that we have here. And we actually have an amazing natural resources department. They collaborate with regional, local FSA and NRCS offices to bring education to local communities. They provide training, resources, and direct assistance to improve the sustainability, health, and profitability of their operation. And I really like working with this team. They're really involved when it comes to planning our field days, when we're planning just events as well. They're really a big component to us because they bring in that knowledge and that expertise. So yeah, next slide. Regenerative economies. Again, this is through our natural resources team. They have a very strong working relationship, like I mentioned, with NRCS, the department and USDA. They work together to improve Indian country conservation practices, and they also host field days, like I mentioned, for producers all across the country. Next slide, please. And lastly, we have the youth and professional development. Again, I really, me as a producer, a small producer, some of you may have known me for my work with Cotton Blossom Gardens. I do incorporate a lot of the youth, and this is just one of the components that I love here that IAC also focuses on. And so we reach all youth ages. There are some really great internships. Usually the internships are 10 weeks long, depending on the time frame and where they're going to be mentored at, and whatever region that might look like. And so every year we do host a youth summit. And so the youth are really encouraged to come, and they learn, again, just the practices that I mentioned: conservation, water resources, natural resources, learning how to plant, regenerative economies, and just really trying to get them in that mind frame of the future use of land and water. Next slide, please. And that is what I have for you all today. So thank you so much for your time. You can learn about IAC at the website there. Also, my contact information is on the bottom. I know it's a little light, but I have a number there and an email. And if you have any questions, the floor is open. I'd like to answer any questions for you all.
Thank you, Janet, for that wonderful presentation. Very, very interesting work that's being done there. I had no idea. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us. Are there comments or questions from the floor? Supervisor Bonine, and then we'll go to Supervisor Smith-Day-Sharif.
Thank you. It's so good to finally see somebody from your organization. The Pueblo of Laguna was part of this. I think we're actually a member, and COVID interrupted. This is one of the things that COVID interrupted. So I'm excited. So did you take Desba's place?
I did, yes. So I'm not too sure if you're all with Desba Padilla. She was the Southwest Regional Technical Assistant, yes.
So I mean, this is the Pueblo of Laguna's participated before. They've got a national or annual meeting in Vegas. That's it's scheduled the same time as the PRCA rodeo. So there's something to do in the evenings besides go to the silver mines. And the current director of Farm Service Agency actually came. He was the director of this organization before Zach Ducheneau came from this organization, and Zach is an incredibly organized guy. He was able, I mean, what you see in this organization didn't exist 5-6 years ago. A lot of what was here didn't exist, and Zach did a great job of getting this pulled together, and this is becoming a first-class organization. So those are, I'm looking forward to how, the Pueblo of Laguna can reengage, and I'll just, I guess, kind of leave it at that. But thank you.
Thank you for that.
Chairman, this is Vice Chair Smith-Day-Sharif. I want to thank Supervisor Abeyta for bringing your new appointment to our attention, and thank you for coming down. We were excited to have you come, and I think that this is such an important organization to keep going and to support. And one of the reasons why I do is beyond for what it stands for, what it has accomplished, and what it can accomplish. It can help us reach our mission, and our soil and water conservation mission is supposed to be over a large territory of greater than 1.4 million acres, and it includes most of the Pueblo of Laguna and all of the Pueblo of Isleta. And I think that this is going to be a marvelous opportunity for us to be able to work together, because it's in working together that we get so much more done, and we realize how connected we are and how connected we can be. So to wit, we just put in an application to NRCS for conservation technical assistance. I hope we get it. It would include one big outreach session here, and then we would plan on 3 field days on, conservation strategies. And we're going to do technical training. Johnny really wanted to have a cadre of folks trained in how to go out and do soil sampling, a physical assessment of the soil, and then learning how to write conservation plans. So for me, this is like a magnificent opportunity for us to engage. If we get this funding. Here's like a specific way. Maybe we can have one of those field days out at each Pueblo, and because we have to show that we are really reaching our mission. And it's not just for Valencia County. We counted that we are 49%. Valencia County is 49% of the district. With your Pueblos and Northern Socorro County, it's 51%.
Wow.
So we have to do it. And I'm so excited. And I'm going to stop here because I could go on and on. But I just want to say, this is great that you got this job. You're the right person at the right time. And I look forward to our district working with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, both Supervisors Bonine and Supervisor Ms. Supervisor Beta, is there anything you'd like to share at this time?
Nope, I'll say it. Just like to congratulate Janice again. When I spoke to her on the phone, I congratulated her and told her how proud of her I am. And just, I know you'll do great work in our communities.
Edgar, thank you. I do have one thing.
Please.
So I'm so happy that you mentioned the field days. We are looking for some collaboration. There is a field day coming up at my garden, actually at Cotton Blossom Gardens, where we would love for you all to be a collaborator for this specific event. It's May 10th, a Friday. And I can involve you in our planning session. We might have one next week. We were supposed to have one this week, but and I say might because we have so many meetings, but I believe that there is one next week, which I would love to have you be a part of. And I think this is a great way for us to start our relationship and also the outreach that you all are looking for on both organizations, especially when it comes to our tribal communities. So if that's something you're all interested in, I would love to have you participate in this and again, be a co-collaborator.
Thank you so much. I see Supervisor Bonine has some additional things he'd like to add.
Yeah, I'd like to, I have a million great ideas, or I think they're great ideas, and I don't have time to do all of them, but I think one of those ideas was with this grant was, I had looked at this grant from a Pueblo perspective. If the Pueblo putting in, that didn't happen, but I think we could pull off a some sort of a workshop or something like that. NRCS has spent a lot of money on the Pueblo in terms of, infrastructure and that kind of thing. And I think I can work with one of our livestock, maybe 2 of our livestock associations and pull together some sort of a technical session so we can highlight what they're doing, but in the same, we can also do some, training in there and, teach people how to do ground cover, cover monitoring or that kind of thing, just, basic range management, that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to that kind of an opportunity. And making this as easy as we can.
So if I may, I'd like to just offer a few thoughts. First off, I think it's wonderful what you're doing and what you bring to us as opportunities. We have two representatives on this board, one for each pueblo, Richard and Priscilla. And so they are the obvious go-to supervisors in terms of future coordination, although the rest of us are available as well. But if there's a place to kind of try to coordinate this and make the most sense out of the opportunities as it relates to each respective pueblo, that those are the go-to staff, the go-to supervisors. We also have our staff here that I think you know, and are very willing to help in any way that they can. The grazing management is important to both pueblos. I think you know that. Richard has worked on some issues and continues to try to provide efficiencies and effectiveness in grazing management. When I worked for Isleta, we were striving to do the same thing. And yet there's more to be done. And so anything that we can do by way of being a sponsor, being a supporter of efforts to focus on grazing management, both in terms of utilization of forage, the development and distribution of water. That was always an ongoing challenge because there's areas on this landscape that the cows don't get to because the limiting factor is water. It's not so much forage. But with a more aggressive, coordinated management focus on grazing, I think that would really benefit this landscape because these acreages involved with both pueblos are huge.
Yes.
And they're very, very present. They're very visible.
And they connect.
And they're connected. And the water issues related to both pueblos are so real, and the opportunities are also real. But trying to get the focus and the leadership and providing the producers on both pueblos, and not just limited to the pueblos, obviously, is really an opportunity. We have to respect the differences that exist between the two groups, the two pueblos. Because I ran into that when I was working at Isleta, trying to bring some ideas over from Laguna, and I was with the best of intentions, just trying to share some of that, and was not acknowledging the differences and the reasons for those, and to respect those. So one size doesn't fit all, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so we want to be sure that when we're involved and we're trying to do what we can, that we're respectful of those differences. Absolutely. And that we can build on them and not allow misunderstandings or anything like that to get in our way. So I just got my eyes open today with this presentation. Thank you for your leadership, for your dedication. And, I don't know that we've got the wherewithal to do everything that's doable, but we certainly want to do what we can. And I think by continuing to communicate, I tell folks here, talk early, talk often, and that really helps us make the most of what we can do. And so again, this is exciting, and I look forward to being a part of this as well.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time. And yes, I will share that information. I would love to get your contact. Priscilla, I have your contact. I know it's right around the corner. May 11th is just right around the corner. But again, IAC, can help with whatever it is. We would love to get your presence. We would love to have your collaboration. And again, really, it's just, again, the outreach that we can provide for our tribal producers. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. I so appreciate this opportunity. Thank you, Priscilla. I'm so glad you reached out and said, can we put Janice on the agenda? And I so appreciate that. So thank you. With that, then, I think I'd like to move us on, just looking at the clock here in the interest of time. This has been very, very worthwhile. We're on time, so good. All righty. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like. Otherwise, it's your pleasure, whatever you'd like to do there. So item number 10, getting back to our agenda then, the resolution number 5-2024 mill levy rate resolution. That should have been in the ducks. And so if we could call that up, our vice chair worked with Megan in tuning up some of the language to that resolution. And I read through it and I thought it was great the way you reframe things. And unless there's some questions or comments regarding the resolution, I'd call for a motion for approval. We'll take a look at it one last time. So Johnny's brought up the resolution for us to take one last look at. Already. I was going to say it looked good to me, but then I missed stuff. So Vice Chair, you've identified a mistake.
The next page can be signed even while we're fixing that. It's, yeah.
You know, you see those things and you just read in the right letters and the right words sometimes, you know.
That's why you need editing. Mr. Chairman, if there's no other correction, it's now fixed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we approve resolution number 5-2024 mill levy rate resolution.
Is there a second to the motion?
Supervisor Bonine seconds the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve resolution number 5-2024 mill levy rate resolution. I will now call for a vote. All those in favor by. Oh, yes, thank you for that process reminder. This requires a roll call vote, so we will do that as a more formal matter. I will now do a roll call vote. Supervisor Smith Day Sharif?
C, yes.
Supervisor Cordova?
Cordova, yes.
Supervisor Bonine? Supervisor Beta?
Supervisor Abeta here, yay. Yes.
And Supervisor Camerino also votes yes. So the motion passes unanimously. All right, we will, those of us that have voted will sign off and then we'll get this put into in the mail, so to speak. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Processing. We'll get points for that.
Yes, we will.
Okay. As long as I sign it with the right color. Okay. So yes, oh yeah. No, those that are not present could not. On motion by, did you motion?
Yes, Teresa. So it has to be signed in blue, right?
On 19th, 18th?
18.
Yeah. I should know that. I've only been saying it. When in doubt, check it out. This one here? Okay. And the pen will travel with it.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, very good. We're in the process of signing that. Supervisor Beta, how do we do that? We'll just.
I can head in there tomorrow or sign it on Saturday.
Oh.
If they're
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. All right. Okay, so it will be on Megan's desk. Thank you for that. Appreciate the hard work there.
Go in tomorrow, Megan.
Whatever works best for you. Saturday, it's like not super urgent. Saturday will be just fine.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Yes, yeah, we're way ahead of schedule here. Yeah. All righty. So I think we're ready to move on. Those of us that are here are signing it, and Supervisor Beta will sign it Saturday, which is great. Item number 11 on the agenda is budget and accounting. Treasurer Cordova and Business Manager McCready. I think you guys you're going to take turns here. I think we're beginning with Treasurer Cordova on the review and approval of the month of March 2024 expenditures.
Supervisor Cordova here. We had a statement beginning balance of $204,936.98. And our balance as of April 5th of 2024 is $154,000, 157.92. And with that, for the details, I will pass this on to Megan.
So thank you for that, Supervisor Cordova. Business Manager McCready, would you like to add anything to the report out? Is there anything that needs to be brought to our attention at this time?
Chair, no, I have nothing to add. Only if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Mr. Chair,
Supervisor Cordova, yes, you have the floor, and then Supervisor Bonine.
so you're probably gonna do this in, checks,
Mm-hmm.
outstanding checks later on, because those names keep popping up month after month after month.
Yeah, we are gonna do that.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes,
yield.
thank you. Supervisor Bonine?
That was my exact question.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, it's all on it's on the top of several of our minds, and we do have an item to specifically address what the question on your minds. All right. So with that, then, if there are no further comments or questions regarding the March 2024 expenditures, I'd call for a motion. Supervisor Bonine, you have the floor.
I move we accept 2024.
Second,
Just a clarification. The date recorded on is April 5th, but is this not for the period ending? Oh, up at the top. Okay, there it is. I was just wanting to be clear. Sometimes I can't see clearly that far. For March 31st, 2024.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. And it's been seconded, correct?
Yes.
All right. So we will now do a vote. All those in favor of approving the expenditures report for the period ending March 31st, 2024, so indicate by the uplifted hand. Very good. All right. The motion carries unanimously. We will circle back to the matter of outstanding checks as we proceed with the rest of the agenda. Ledger entries. Business Manager McCready, I think you were going to walk us through that or have a comment or something. All right. We have to see him first.
Thank you for that, Chair. This one's actually going to be a two-parter for me. As far as ledger entries go, is there something specific you guys are asking to see there?
If I may respond, I think we were just trying to show that we are paying attention to the ledger entries, because that's been one of those things that we've been dinged on or pointed out to us in edits that we need to show that we are in fact aware of, apprised of, tuned in to ledger entries. And so I think it's a matter of, as our business manager, to point out to us, here's what you need to know, here's what you need to look at. I think that was the intent.
Okay. So now my second part for that one is what you all see on the reconciliation report. That is our ledger in a sense. That is every transaction that has gone through QuickBooks, whether it's incoming or outgoing for that month. The other part for this that you guys would sign off on is the journal entries I make. And I've shown those to you guys. You and I went through a handful of them today. We use those whenever we process payroll. Anytime a payroll comes through, I have to make a journal entry for that payroll. And it's so that our payroll account gets reconciled to the money coming out of the bank, if that makes sense. And anytime I reclassify a transaction, which I had to do because we actually had 2 donation accounts, I had to reclassify one of them out of Whitfield donations into just regular donations. That was the other thing that you signed today. So as far as like our general ledger goes, it's in our reconciliation report, and
So
I don't know if we'll need to continue to add this to the agenda.
Okay. So I have a question about that, and I think Supervisor Smith-Day-Sharif has a comment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is Vice Chair Smith-Day-Sharif. This has come up in the audit, so I think if we have a placeholder every month on the agenda, all we have to do is the chair has to say, I have, signed the ledger. I have reviewed and signed the ledger, ledger, the entries, journal entries, just so that it's really for
Right.
the auditor.
So with that, how do we show that in a way that's materially evident and supportive? Because what you said to me, and I was not really thinking about the documents I was signing today as ledger entries. So, and I know that Treasurer Cordova has signed off on some things in the past. So it's kind of who's available to you at your request to sign off on documents that for expenditures and such. So how do we capture that activity as paying attention, that the board is aware and doing what we need to do from a fiduciary responsibility standpoint?
Thank you for that question. This is Business Manager McCready. I think approving our reconciliation report gives enough. The audit finding that we are talking about is our lack of approval of journal entries, which when we had our exit conference with Mr. Baldwin a couple of months ago, he did say that that finding has been resolved. It is not a reoccurring one for this year, and it is because I have you guys sign those sheets that say I approve this journal entry to record. One is interest income that we get in our United Business bank accounts. The other ones are for the payroll. The fact that you guys are signing those sheets and I send them off with our audit keeps us from having that finding happen.
Okay. Well, I think we've crossed the bridge, and I think with what you've counseled us as our technical subject matter expert, I'm good with that. I think that's sufficient. And if in fact by approving this monthly expenditures, and then there's evidence that each time you present a document for us to sign, that's a journal entry and so forth. If that isn't good enough, then I think we will just, never mind what I was going to say. Yeah,
I'm just, or not, Mr. Chairman.
I so appreciate that about you, Vice Chair Smith-Sharif. You just want to be sure that we get full credit and we're not being dinged unnecessarily. And that's my hurt shoulder, by the way. Yeah, and unless I'm missing something, I think we're good.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go ahead, Business Manager McCready.
Thank you. This is Business Manager McCready once more. The reason that I have asked that our treasurer is the one that stops in and sees me once a week to sign vouchers and these entries and what have you is because it is our treasurer that reports out these reports as well as a board officer. So without saying so much, I was trying to cover that base anyway. When Pam Canton Abel's the one that shows up, he's the chair. And so I feel like just kind of the way that I've processed this might cover us enough. But if there's additional, I would totally do whatever the guidance of the board is at that point.
This is the chair. I'm the stickler about process burden. And I just feel like sometimes we're getting advice and counsel from the other subject matter experts that are looking at putting us under the microscope, and we can argue all day long about whether we should be held to account for all those things. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts, Supervisor Bodine?
I wanted to address or ask about something, and maybe we can't do anything about this, but it was my understanding through our process of discovery with the previous director about that there are some that transactions or checks that are written by QuickBooks only getting one signature. Is that correct? Is there, and it seemed like I was thinking that we needed some sort of like a request for check form or something so that there's two signatures. There's always two signatures on everything. And I think somehow maybe that can tie into some of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And maybe it takes maybe it takes a cup of coffee in the morning to figure that out. But
all right, Business Manager McCready, you've heard Supervisor Bonine's question. Can you respond?
Thank you, Supervisor Bodine. This is Business Manager McCready. Because all of our payments that flow through QuickBooks happen electronically, I send them for payment from QuickBooks to another software called Melio. Melio has a third-party vetted individual that is based in California, where our checks actually get cut from, that sign those electronic checks. We would kind of have to change the route of how we do these things. If we wanted it to be in-house double signature, I'd have to print checks from QuickBooks. Two people would have to come in and sign them, and then I'd have to mail them out. We can go that route. It's a heavier process that allows us to stay within QuickBooks if that's the route you all wanted to go. But this is what our current situation is. It's not even a member of our board that signs our electronic checks. It's a vetted third party from that bank that does it through the Melio program. Does that help at all?
Clarifies some of it.
Supervisor
Thank you.
Smith-Sharif, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, maybe there's a role for using the old-fashioned check with the two signatures.
Supervisor Cordova, you have the floor.
I don't want to do the old-fashioned thing with the two signatures. I think that it's working well now, and we should keep it that way. And, mailing checks, I don't think so.
What happened to your hair, Supervisor Abeyta? Oh. Okay. It's showing blue to us. I'm sorry. No, Supervisor Cordova, I'm leaning the way that you are as well. This is the thing where we find ourselves with technology and all of this. There's merit to the way we used to do things because that showed more safeguard. It was also very, very catch as catch can. And I remember it used to drive Madeline crazy, probably drove Andrew crazy before we got to this point of a more efficient electronic way of doing it. Unless there's some industry standard that says that the way we're doing it now is just wrong or risky, then maybe we could still go with what we're doing. And if there's some future date that realizes that this just doesn't work, then I guess I would defer to that moment. I don't know when that would be, if at all, but I think this board is showing fiduciary responsibility by saying, we approve this process, we're standing behind it, it's working, show us where the problem is, show us where we had embezzlement, fraud, or what have you, because I think that's the concern is how do we show that we aren't misspending the money or it hasn't been taken out and funneled off some way? I don't know. A little louder.
This is Business Manager McCready. The process that we have now does just that. There is a timestamp. There is an electronic record. I also keep a paper trail record of these things. The way we are doing it now is industry standard. And that comes from our CPA, Chris Fogel himself, that to try to do this in a way that I print the paper checks and somebody else comes in and sign them and then I have to mail them, that's process burden, and it takes that extra layer of protection, if you will, away from us, because then there is no electronic stamp saying, yeah, I put that check in the mail, so and so should have gotten it. This way there's no question. It's all documented via our QuickBooks and our Melio program of what it is I do on a day-to-day basis.
So here's a process question then. Is there any way for you or anyone else on this board to manipulate what the process that we're using?
No.
Okay, Supervisor Smith-Sharif.
The potential that we have another $15,930 check issue.
I don't think so, because the way that was orchestrated was totally arbitrary and capricious, and it substituted board decision for an individual's decision. It really hadn't anything to do with the process that was used. And so I know what you're saying. Could it happen again? Perhaps, but here's the thing. We caught it, we've corrected it. And so with the system is in place. So I think there's enough oversight, I would think, but maybe I'm willing to take that element of risk. I don't think it's,
If
I
I
think that
may,
was an anomaly.
I'll have a stronger backbone with that moving forward as well.
Okay.
I had made the suggestion that that wasn't what should have happened, and because I had a director that I answered to, I followed his direction. I now know that I need to be stronger with my voice and say, hey, this is what the black and white says, and that's what we have to follow. So I can, with confidence, tell you all, no, on my watch, I won't let that happen again. And with that, I yield.
Mr. Chair,
Supervisor Cordova.
Supervisor Cordova here. So the problem with doing it the old-fashioned way is I know I live exactly 4 minutes away from here, which is really nice, but I may not be here. You may not be here. And then that delays mailing the check. We also, I'm sorry, I don't trust the U.S. Postal Service. So there's too many times that I have not received things in the mail or people haven't received things in the mail. And I think it's a greater risk to do it the old fashioned way when we can get the tech stamp on it. And if it all crashes tomorrow, then we go back to the old fashioned way.
Supervisor Bonine, you have the floor. Thank you, Supervisor Cordova.
This is Supervisor Bonine. I wasn't really suggesting that we go back to some other process. I just, the facts are, we had a check that was written that was more than what it was. Yes, our system did correct it or catch it. And I guess that was my concern, is just making sure that the easiest, I wanted to make sure that that doesn't happen again. If we're confident that the system we've got is going to do that, that's fine. I hate the system that we work at, with the Pueblo of Laguna. It's very process heavy, getting anything done, but it's like, you'd have to be a genius to figure out how to circumvent the system. I mean, so if we're confident that the system is, that we've got works, that satisfies my concerns, and we can move on to whatever's next.
Final comment, Supervisor Smith-Day-Sharif.
Mr. Chairman, this is Vice Chair Smith-Day-Sharif. I'm with Richard on this, so I'm happy to move on. And
Okay.
we just are going to continue with the great business manager, great staff, and we're just going to review with our treasurer's help the reconciliation detail and the journal entries, and we were satisfied.
All right, thank you for that. So given that, then I think we can move on then to the third quarter report. We still have a number of items under this particular topic. We're at a little after 6, and we were to go into executive session at 6:05. So can we keep an eye on the clock then with the remaining sub items here? Third quarter report to DFA. Was there any particular comment or question from anybody on the board regarding that needs to be raised at this time? Okay, and so I would call, if there's no further comments, because I reviewed it in depth as well, and it's up there. If there's nothing burning in anyone's mind as to a question, then I call for a motion to approve the third quarter report to DFA.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Bonan, you have the floor.
I move we approve the third quarter report to DFA.
Is there a second? Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the third quarter report to DFA. I don't think that's a roll call vote. I think we can just, or is it? I don't think it is. Okay. So I will now call for all those in favor, so indicate by the uplifted hand. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. And I will sign while we go on to applying for NMDA Healthy Soil and Legacy Fund grants. I think Vice Chair Smith-Day-Sharif.
very much, Mr. Chairman. This is Vice Chair Smith-Day Sharif. I wanted to give an update on this, and I do think we're going to need a board motion because we had agreed with the funding opportunities that the grants that we go after are going to be approved by the board. So we applied for the NRCS Conservation Technical Assistance Grant, and basically, we're going to be working on healthy soils. That's the general idea. But that also can include healthy soils in the range areas, like you mentioned, Supervisor Bonin. So for me, when I've been trying to help Johnny take a look at the NMDA Healthy Soils Grant, I had a number of questions. Katie, as I mentioned, helped me get some answers from their Healthy Soils program person, who I think her name is also Katie. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so basically, I have found out the following. We can't just apply for money anymore to just do healthy soils testing, just test for what's in these soils. They're really encouraging. Like, they didn't outright say, no, you can't do that as a standalone, but we are really, 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 really encouraging that it be linked to something else. So in other words, we have to go after one of the 5 healthy soil principles as a tie-in, and that can be outreach or something like that. So there are a number of things we could do. We can go after a total of $100,000. This grant has to be submitted within 7 days. I know I've really studied it. Johnny's studied it. We have some ideas. There are some things this could help us with. For example, I'm not saying this would necessarily be it, but we have all of these wood chips down at Raucci and a bunch of wood lying around as well. Some of this is for habitat, but we have a potential for fuels risk. Santa Ana Pueblo was given an award in 2023 to make compost right there with the stuff that they had masticated. They moved some manure in that was cured. They wet it. They used their own tractor to turn it over, and voila, compost. And that compost was used in the Pueblo and used in their garden area that they have going. And one of our big things that people love is getting compost and getting wood chips and all this kind of stuff. So that's just an example. Another example is biochar. That's like really big now in soils, right, Katie? Yeah. So we've got a lot of burned fuel out here that is also fuel for future fire. We could do something to actually produce biochar here at one of our sites. It can be a thing that we take around even. So that's another possibility. And we would be able to get funding for any equipment less than a certain amount, and then money to help us do it, like pay the staff time to do it. We can do like what Ciudad does. They've got a bunch of grants awarded, a few thousand here, a few thousand there, but it's what I would call branding. It's going out and doing this outreach stuff, like at our gardens or at the Pueblos, if you wish. And what we do, what's working. Here's how you can do it. Come see, and you kind of have a fiesta while you're doing it, and people can get a free kit to make a Johnson Sioux bioreactor, or they can get a free soil, something to stick in the ground and be able to do a test after they put their amendments in. So there's all kinds of stuff. I'm advocating that we apply for healthy soils. I would like to request, if somebody feels like he or she would like to make that motion, that you leave it broad, because right now, Johnny and I haven't had time to really narrow down exactly what we go for, but I would like you to trust the discretion. Secondly, if I may just tell you about the Legacy Fund grants. We all, otherwise known as Land of Enchantment or LOE, one of the 3. So we went through training here, a bunch of us did. We actually kind of wrote up some things. One of the things that we were thinking we could put forward was planning, to do our land use plan.
5-year.
The 5-year plan, and then what was the other?
The land use plan and the 5-year,
5-year plan and a land use plan. And we could put forward an application where we'll get the money to pay somebody to help us do that. Because again, one of our big challenges is human resources. That's one of our biggest capacity issues. So I think those are no-brainers. Yeah. Yeah, and we,
I know.
I mean, just repeat it really quick. This is Katie Mechenbier with NMDA. I just want to throw out that the LOE legacy funding has a section for capacity building where you could hire a contract employee for up to $20,000 is the max for that section of the grant. But that one is also just every other year. So I wanted to throw that out for the board.
Cool. Good for that.
thank you, Katie. Lastly, if I may, Mr. Chairman, as regards the legacy funding, I have asked our liaison person at, also like you, Katie, at NMDA, Patricia Deppner, to let us know. And now that I've reviewed Katie's thing, we can actually find out if we really did get the over $200,000 for the restoration research work, because there was that possibility that you can get a bigger pot of money for that kind of landscape-wide stuff, but you need a match. So if we did get that money from the legislature and we needed a match to be able to accomplish the whole program, that is another potential. I'm not saying that we would do that tomorrow morning, mañana, if we had the money, because no, you would phase this out. So I'm just reporting that I think we can get these grants submitted, grant applications submitted, and I would be looking for approval on that. One thing that we didn't do, we were authorized by the board last month to apply for the urban ag grant that Nick referenced, but we had technical difficulties, and I'd like to leave it at that, if I may, Mr. Chairman, and even being able to access grants.gov until some things were ironed out. So going after something that was going to be highly competitive versus going after the NRCS grant for technical assistance, which we were encouraged to do, that was a
Missed
decision we
opportunity.
made. So I'm going to yield, Mr. Chairman, if anyone has